Walters is back as the official bar of the Nats Chat podcast for our 6th season of coverage. Located just across the street from the ballpark, Walters is the best sports bar in Navy Yard.
Runners first and second. The pitch. Swing and a drive it well to the gap in right center field, and no one's going to catch this one. It's one up off the big wall in right center field. Rounding third, Tucker, he'll score. Rounding third, Betts, he will score. Standing at second base is Freddie Freeman doing what he does. A booming double to right center field, his second two-base hit of the year. And the Dodgers on the board here in the top of the first inning with one out. It's Los Angeles 2 and Washington nothing.
3-2 count with Pages at second. Here's the pitch. Swing a line drive, shallow left, a looper. Out goes Abrams, going after it, can't get it. It's in for a hit. One hopper to Lyle, and that'll score Pages all the way from second. A bloop RBI single for Alex Call. It's 6-0 Dodgers. Just perfectly dropped it between Abrams and Lyle. And an RBI hit with the extended life after the ABS challenge.
And welcome to Nats Chat. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. My usual co-host, Washington Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman of NatsJournal.com. He is off for this episode, but I am joined by the owner and executive producer of the podcast, the head of podcast operations, Tim Shovers. So we say happy Easter weekend. We say happy Passover weekend, but this so far has not been a happy weekend for the Nats, and this their first home series of the season. The opponent, a rather difficult one, the two-time defending World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. Friday afternoon, a 13-6 loss to the Dodgers at Nationals Park. Saturday, a 10-5 loss to the Dodgers at Nationals Park for the Nats' fourth consecutive loss. The Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 3-5. How about this? 5 of the 8 games have featured one of the teams in the game scoring at least 10 runs. A lot of offense in Nats games so far, though in this series, the bulk of the offense has been by the opposition. But good to have you with us. We on Nats Chat offer shout-outs. Think of a shout-out as the podcast version of a scoreboard message. But if you would like for us to do a shout-out for you, for someone who you care about, a happy birthday, a congratulations, a get well soon, whatever, email Tim. You can reach Tim at the following email address, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. The cost for a shout-out, a mere $25, and your support of the podcast is very much appreciated. So Friday, a very nice day in the Washington, D.C. area in terms of weather. Saturday, a beautiful day in the D.C. area in terms of weather. And the attendance numbers for this series so far, quite good. Yes, a decent number of the fans have been Dodgers fans, but Game 1 official attendance, 41,161. Game 2 official attendance, 40,046. But Tim, the weather is not being matched by the Nats starting pitching in this series. Game 1, Miles Mikolas, 11 runs in 4 1/3 innings. In Game 2, Jake Irvin, 6 runs in 4 innings.
Spring is here. Cherry blossoms have come out in some form or fashion. The weather was perfect, but the Nats got torched today. So far, I think you were catching the Dodgers at the worst possible time, where who knows what's going to happen by September and October. But they have the best team on paper by far. They've had a week's worth of at-bats, so their feet are wet. They're into the season. They're as healthy as they could possibly be, and they're just absolutely toying with the Nationals.
You know, it's funny you talk about the timing of the Nats playing the Dodgers, because off the Nats 3-3 road trip to begin the regular season, I said to myself, you know, if you're going to play a bunch of perceived to be very good teams, you kind of rather do it early, because maybe those teams haven't quite yet found their footings. And I did feel like in the Cubs series, and especially the Phillies series, those teams weren't quite right. And so the Nats caught those teams, I thought, at pretty advantageous times for the Nats. With the Dodgers, you're right. It looks like the Dodgers are rounding into form with the way that the Dodgers are performing in this series. Jake Irvin, a rough outing. Better than Miles Mikolas, yes, but it would have been hard to have been worse. And Irvin in this game did not do well. 6 runs in 4 innings. He gave up 8 hits, which were 2 first-pitch, 2-run doubles by Freddie Freeman and 6 singles. Irvin issued 2 walks. He recorded 4 strikeouts, threw a lot of pitches, did throw a lot of strikes. That was good. But he over his mere 4 innings threw 85 pitches, 58 strikes, just 27 balls. So Irvin in a 2-run first for the Dodgers gave up a 1-out first pitch, 2-run double by Freddie Freeman to the right center field gap for a 2-0 Dodgers lead. Irvin in a 3-run second for the Dodgers gave up a 2-out first pitch, 2-run double by Freddie Freeman to the right center field gap for a 5-0 Dodgers lead. Irvin in a 1-run third for the Dodgers botched the fielding of a 1-out comeback chopper by Andy Pages on an 0-2 pitch for what was officially scored as a single, but that was an instance of some bad fielding by a Nats pitcher. And if you are a regular listener of the podcast, you know per mark that Nats pitchers struggled in terms of fielding during the exhibition season. And then later in that inning, Irvin gave up a 2-out full count RBI single by the ex-Nat, our old pal, Alex Cole, to left field for a 6-0 Dodgers lead. Irvin in this game seemed to get attacked early in counts. Irvin in this game seemed to get attacked in terms of his non-curveball pitches. And Irvin, who had a nice first start to this regular season, 6-3 win at the Chicago Cubs last Sunday afternoon, 2 runs, 5 innings, 7 strikeouts, not nearly as good in this game.
Dodgers were all over him. The game was really over in the second inning when it was 5-0. And it was an uncompetitive start from Irvin today. I'm going to give him the break of he faced the best lineup in baseball in second start of the season. You mentioned that start he had in Chicago. So let's go with that one in terms of the 2 outings so far on the season. But, Jake Irvin's got to audition for his spot in the rotation this year. Now, what is his competition? I'm not exactly entirely sure, but I would imagine that if his ERA is in the 5s in a few weeks, there's going to be some conversations there. So I think the next outing or 2 for Irvin is going to be really important.
Irvin is one of those guys who I've thought of in terms of the Nats' new and improved process. Is Irvin a guy who could really benefit from that process, or have we seen what there is to see with Jake Irvin? He's older than I think a lot of people realize. This is his age 29 season, 4th round pick in the 2018 MLB First Year Player Draft out of the University of Oklahoma. We know that at times he has looked pretty good. We also know that he's coming off a really rough 2025 season. When it came to the Nats bullpen in this 10-5 loss to the Dodgers at Nationals Park on Saturday, 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 4 runs in 5 innings. Brad Lord, 3 runs in 2 innings. Lord in a 3-run fifth for the Dodgers gave up a 3-run homer by Andy Pages, who is like unconscious right now. The guy is hitting like crazy. The 3-run homer to left field gave the Dodgers a 9-2 lead. Lord in the inning gave up the homer, 3 singles, and a walk. Gus Varland allowed 1 run in 1 inning. Cole Henry tossed 2 scoreless innings with 2 swinging strikeouts. I was a little surprised to see Henry used in a mop-up role like that. At the same time, it's early in the season. The Nats have gotten 2 bad starting pitching outings in back-to-back games. And at this point, I think if you're manager Blake Butera, you are still trying to just figure out things with your bullpen. So I don't know that we should get too caught up in roles. But, if you would have asked me going into the regular season, Cole Henry, do you expect him to be part of the Nats A bullpen, however A that ends up being, or B bullpen? I would have said A. Like, Henry's a guy who we saw do some good things last season. I'm anxious to see the kind of season he has because, you talk about like legitimate upside among these Nats relievers. Henry has it. He still got to prove it, but did a pretty good job in this game. And I'd like to think that he could be someone who does well for the Nats in terms of relief pitching this season.
I'm with you. I don't want to see too many Cole Henry outings in mop-up duty, especially when they're getting beat. But at the same time, early in the season, they're in a 4-game losing streak, and Butera wants to get them some outings on the mound. So I also understand that perspective with Cole Henry. My big takeaway from the bullpen today, Al, was, just one day, but Brad Lord giving up 3 runs. And, you look at the starting rotation, and we're off to a bit of a tough start so far. And it's like, should Brad Lord just be in the starting rotation and that's the end of it? Like, I understand that on a different team, he could be a really valuable, weapon in the bullpen and long man and all that stuff. But I think he might sort of be wasted on a team like this that's going to struggle to stay afloat, and maybe just move him to rotation and be done with it.
He did a good job in the starting rotation last season. The one thing with Lord that you don't want to keep doing is, moving him back and forth. Like, you'd like to sort of find a role for him and let him learn and develop in that role. Now, Lord's performance in this game isn't screaming, put me back in the rotation, but, he, I think, should be at least an option for the rotation if others do struggle. I don't know that he's like a primary option right now. I think if somebody got yanked from the current rotation, the Nats would go to AAA Rochester for the replacement as opposed to putting Lord into that rotation. I also think it's interesting, too, So you get a short start from Jake Irvin. I think it's probably pretty obvious here. Blake Butera wanted Brad Lord to eat up a bunch of innings in this game, comes into the game, gives up the 3 runs in the 5th, does work another inning, but only goes for 2 innings. And, I bet money that the idea was for Brad Lord to go at least 3 innings in this game, but he doesn't do that because, in part anyway, he threw a lot of pitches in that 3-run 5th for the Dodgers. And again, Andy Pages right now is just hitting like crazy. And, this is the thing with the Dodgers. Like, if Shohei Ohtani or Kyle Tucker or Mookie Betts or Freddie Freeman doesn't get you, Andy Pages gets you. You're just up and down this lineup. There's no relenting from this Dodgers offense, and the Nats are finding that out so far in this series.
If you listen to Nats Chat, you're probably a Nats fan. Well, unless you're one of the family members Tim, Al, and I pay off to boost our numbers, but the rest of you are legitimate fans of the team, hungry for all the coverage you can get. You're in luck because there's a new home for the most comprehensive coverage out there, natsjournal.com. I'm bringing more than 2 decades of journalistic expertise to Nats Journal, where you can find breaking news, analysis, and lots of interaction with fellow fans and me. You can even access every episode of Nats Chat, past and present, right there on the site. And you can get every single article I write emailed directly to your inbox the moment it publishes. Subscriptions are just $7.99 a month, or sign up for an annual subscription and pay just $5.99 a month. Go to natsjournal.com and select the plan that works for you. Then come along for the ride with me and thousands of fellow Nats fans who have already signed up. That's natsjournal.com, your new home for the best coverage in town.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
The kick and the pitch. Swing and a long drive deep to right. Down the line. Hooking toward the corner. It is gone. Goodbye. Another home run for C.J. Abrams. For the 2nd day in a row. A 2-run shot today. It's his 3rd home run of the year. And it gives him 12 runs batted in. And that is a new Nationals record for RBIs by a National in his first 7 games of the season. Bang, zoom goes C.J. Abrams. It's now the Dodgers 10 and the Nationals 4.
Interesting game for the Nats offense in this 10-5 loss to the Dodgers at Nationals Park on Saturday. 5 runs, which as a run total isn't bad, but 3 of the runs came over the final 2 innings. The Nats over the first 7 innings were outscored 10-2, and this was not unlike what we had in the 13-6 loss to the Dodgers on Friday afternoon. The Nats offense overall in that game, not bad, but the Nats over the 3rd through 7th innings got outscored 12-1. So some of the Nats offensive production in this series so far has been what we like to call garbage time production, but the Nats have done some decent things offensively in this series. So only 8 hits on Saturday, but 4 of them were extra base hits. The Nats had a home run, a triple, 2 doubles, and 4 singles. The Nats did work just 2 walks, went 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Certainly had problems with the Dodgers starting pitcher Tyler Glasnow. He allowed 2 runs in 6 innings with 9 strikeouts. But how about C.J. Abrams, another home run? He is the Nats starting shortstop and number 5 batter, 1 for 2 with a 2-run homer and 2 walks. Abrams in the Nats 2-run 8th. So yeah, garbage time, but still a 2-out, 2-run homer to right field to cut the Nats deficit to 10-4. C.J. Abrams, as of just a few games ago, had underwhelming numbers here. But here now is what we're looking at with C.J. Abrams over 7 games. OPS 982, 3 home runs, 12 runs batted in. How about that? 12 RBI over the Nats' first 7 games of this regular season. So good to see that from C.J. Abrams. Luis Garcia Jr. had a good game. He is the Nats starting DH and number 2 batter, 3 for 4 with an RBI triple, a double, and a single. Garcia in the bottom of the first had a went-out first pitch double into right field. Garcia in the Nats' 1-run third had a 2-out first pitch RBI triple into right field to cut the Nats deficit to 6-1. Garcia for this regular season so far, OPS of 862. So he's doing well. There's also James Wood. James Wood as the Nats starting right fielder and number 1 batter, 0 for 5 with 2 strikeouts. Now, in fairness to Wood, he per StatCast had the Nats' 2 highest exit velocities of the game, 106 miles per hour and 104.7 miles per hour. So he hit some balls hard, but he struck out 2 more times, and it was really interesting some of the stuff that Blake Butera had to say during his post-game press conference about James Wood.
It's been 35 at bats, so I don't want to overreact too much. We know James is a really good hitter, but we are also trying to help him get back to who he is.
Talked about Wood needing to get back to who he is. Talked about Wood not being in sync.
With that, I think, if you talk to James, he wants to probably capitalize maybe on some pitches earlier in at-bats. He seems to be down, like you mentioned, 0-2 or 1-2 almost every at-bat, it feels like. And I think he is starting to put better swings on pitches earlier in accounts. He's just not quite in sync at this moment.
And I thought that those comments were telling because I think we're all kind of noticing that right now. Wood has had his moments, but the overall numbers are bad. And I think beyond that, the process at times seems bad.
During the game, I decided I was going to bring up to you that I'm opening up the floodgates. If you and Mark want to start talking about should James Wood take a trip to Rochester. And I'm serious when I say that. And I know that there aren't 9 hitters better than him, but it might be what's best for him. His strikeout situation is alarming, and we've been saying that since July of last season. He struck out at least once every single game. He is now developing a reputation for it. I listened to a half inning of the Dodgers broadcast. They were saying just how he looks like a different player from pre-All-Star break to post-All-Star break bleeding into this season. His OPS was 690 post-All-Star break last year. His OPS is under 500 so far. Small sample size, 8 games. But I don't know. I think he needs, I don't know if it's a mental reset or something, but I heard a lot of frustration from Blake Butera right there.
Well, they're searching for answers. You certainly get that sense. I mean, I can't say that I want him sent to AAA. To me, this is something he's got to figure out at the major league level. But, to your point about last season, this is the thing with James Wood. Talking about his struggles and highlighting his struggles right now, that's not like an overreaction to a small sample size. Like, he struggled as last season went on, and that was the thing. James Wood last season was superb before the All-Star break. After the All-Star break, a different story. And the sample of him struggling as last season went on ended up being quite sizable. Like, it's not like, it was only a few weeks. He had a really bad July, he had a so-so August, and he had a so-so September. And he never quite got back to that level that we saw him be at before the All-Star break. And he, before the All-Star break, wasn't just good, he was elite. Like, he was Juan Soto-esque with the way that he was hitting. And, of course, there was the thing of, well, the home run derby ruined his swing. Even if that was true, and I don't believe that that's true, but even if that was true, he had an entire offseason, an entire spring training, an entire exhibition season to get that out of his system. So, like, at this point, we're beyond, well, the home run derby, ruined James Wood. Okay, again, I don't buy that, but I know some people do. There's something more here. Like, his process, for whatever reason, isn't what it was. And the strikeouts wouldn't bother me so much if he was drawing walks. And I think a big issue here is the lack of walks. Remember when James Wood was surging before the All-Star break last season? He was drawing walks at, again, a Juan Soto-like clip, He, so far this regular season, 16 strikeouts, 4 walks. He has 4 times as many strikeouts as walks. And that's not the James Wood who we saw before the All-Star break last season.
It's not. He seems like he's behind in the count, 0-1, if not 0-2, every single time. Butera mentioned that. And I think it's time at the very least to yank him out of the leadoff spot. I don't think it makes sense for this team. He's too important to the offense. They're not going to score that many runs. And he can't be in a position where he's hitting a lot of solo homers. And if I heard you and Mark correctly recently, the math is 17 more at bats, basically. I don't know. That's 3 a month. That's not even 1 a week. Like, to me, that's not worth it. I get why Shohei Ohtani's a leadoff hitter. I get why Kyle Schwarber's a leadoff hitter. Those are different teams with different bottom of the order and middle of the order. But for the 2026 Washington Nationals and where James Wood's at, I think this leadoff thing makes no sense.
Yeah, 17 plate appearances per lineup spot over the course of 162 games. This is maybe the single biggest item right now for not just Blake Butera, but the Nats' new hitting coach, Matt Borgschulte, getting James Wood on track. There are so many things that matter with the Nats right now in terms of key young players and how they perform, but nobody matters more than James Wood. Like, he is the guy who has the potential to be a franchise player, a true cornerstone player. And if he isn't that guy, we have a big problem. He has not been that guy here in his most recent months in terms of MLB regular seasons, but we saw him be that guy before the All-Star break. How about Abrams, though? Are you buying the recent torrid run here for C.J. Abrams?
Buying, very strong word there. Encouraged, though. And not that I enjoy garbage time runs like anyone else, and our veteran listeners know why that is, because when you're in rebuild mode and you're down a lot, you're facing a lot of teams' ends of the bullpen, and the Nats had that today against the Dodgers. But C.J. Abrams has the potential to be a 30-30 guy. Like, that could happen. He's already done it with stolen bases in the 40s, and I think he can get 30 homers, if not more. So I'm really, as I said, I'm going to use that word encouraged. When he's locked in, he's as hot as anyone. It's just a matter of how long that lasts. And we still don't know the right spot for C.J. Abrams in the order. We still haven't figured that out. And as I've given my thoughts on James Wood in the leadoff spot, maybe go Abrams up there. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
We are recording this on Saturday evening, so there are still games to be completed. But as we are speaking, C.J. Abrams tied for the major league lead in runs batted in with 12. You know, the thing you wonder about with Abrams is the better he does that make it more likely or less likely that he's with the Nats by the end of this season? In other words, the better he does that increase the likelihood of him being traded? Or the better he does that increase the likelihood of Paul Taboni keeping C.J. Abrams for the long haul as a key player for the Nats?
Yeah, I mean, and we've talked about this. Like, if there's a major injury to a contender in April or May in the middle of the infield, C.J. Abrams' trade value for that brief time does go up. And I'm not saying that they should trade him. I don't know what the move is. But to your point, his numbers early season actually do matter because of that sweet spot in the trade market that is early season injuries.
Well, and the numbers also matter because of this. Let's be honest. He is known to slump, and he is known to be up and down. And what you always want to do, of course, is sell high. And so if the numbers are high and you are, in fact, looking to sell, that is the time to sell. Don't wait until he goes into some prolonged slump in the middle of June to start talking trades with teams. Like, if this guy is surging through April, through May, that might be the time for the Nats head of baseball operations, Paul Taboni, to pull the trigger on a C.J. Abrams trade. I did want to note Curtis Mead. He is the Nats starting first baseman and number 6 batter, 1 for 4, RBI double. Did commit a missed catch error, but Mead in the Nats 1-run fourth, a 1-out RBI double down the left field line to cut the Nats deficit to 6-2, despite having been down in the count at 1.02. Curtis Mead is the guy who the Nats acquired via trade the previous Saturday, March 28th. Got him from the Chicago White Sox for minor league catcher Boston Smith. Curtis Mead from Australia. He's a guy who has played a number of different positions, primarily first base, second base, and third base at the major league level. And remember, the Nats last Sunday evening announced having optioned first baseman Andres Chaparro to AAA Rochester. So Mead is on the 26-man roster right now, with Chaparro having been optioned to Rochester.
And the pitch, swing a bouncing ball to first. Freeman has it, steps on first, throw to second, and the tag play there. Tana is out, and the Dodgers turn a 3-6 double play to end the game here at Nationals Park.
All right, you were at Nationals Park for the game on Friday afternoon, and you had some observations from the Nats clubhouse that you wanted to share. I'm anxious to hear these observations. What do you have?
It was a good feeling on opening day, and obviously, you know, hope springs eternal and all those things, but you can feel that a new regime is in place, a new administration, a new front office, and just a bit of fresh air. And now they went out and got pounded, and now they have a 4-game losing streak. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not losing perspective on that. And this has been written about. There were T-shirts given out in the morning. Players were wearing sort of honoring and mocking Blake Butera, the celebration for his first career victory as a manager, and had his quote after about all the liquids that were poured onto him. That's just a small thing, but nice chemistry, because let me tell you, I did not feel clubhouse chemistry at the end of last season. So I was just happy to see that the guys were just sort of recognizing that they're teammates with each other. To me, the thing that was most noteworthy, and Al, I think this would be the thing you would find most interesting, is that they now have a bunch of televisions in the clubhouse, and one of them, usually it's like on MLB Network or whatever, on ESPN, but one of them had prepackaged video about sort of stressing certain pitching statistics that they want to get through to their pitchers. So such as kill rate, if you got a guy with 2 strikes, you want to be at a certain percentage of striking that guy out on that first pitch with 2 strikes. And also they had this big thing about make your free throws, like never fall behind the count, 1-0, you want to get ahead 0-1, and just stressing things like that. And then had individual percentages of the pitchers as well, so you could see how they were doing. Now, they were using spring training stats and spring training clips, but I'm interested to see if that continues, because that's sort of, I just hadn't seen that before. That to me was a real takeaway, and I could feel that we have a new front office in town.
Well, you're getting me very excited with the way that you're talking right now, but I have to say, it's awesome to hear that stuff. And, it's been written about. Mark has written about it for NatsJournal.com. Spencer Nussbaum, who covers the Nats for The Athletic, he's written multiple interesting pieces about the Nats embracing analytics and embracing technology. And, this is the kind of stuff that forward-thinking teams do. This is the kind of stuff that you love to see. Now, does it, translate into a run of sustained success? We don't know. But to me, this is how you get to sustained success in current MLB, is you adopt the behavior that the Nats are adopting here. So great to see that. The energy with this team, I do think, is legitimate. The embracing of the new process by the players, I do think, is legitimate. The test is, okay, we're early into things, okay? What happens when there is the inevitable slide, either a lengthy losing streak or a run of 15 losses in 20 games, that kind of a thing? Is everyone still on the same page? Is there still that energy, or do people start to slip? And that's where I think you see a young manager like Blake Butera start to get tested. The testing really doesn't come now. The testing would figure to come in July or August or September if the Nats are, 10, 20, 30 games under 500 and everyone's kind of just staring at the finish line. At that point, do habits start to slip? Do attitudes start to get poor? Or does everyone stay bought in throughout the entirety of the season? We'll see.
I think we're going to find out actually way sooner than that because of James Wood. We heard Blake Butera give a very honest answer. Now, I wouldn't say that I think critical is a fair way to assess how he answered about Wood there. And this is a major situation. And I'm sure the front office is seeing the strikeout numbers like we are. So to your point, Al, it might come well before May 1st.
Could be. James Wood is too talented to continue struggling like this, but what's also true is that the struggles aren't just a recent thing anymore and aren't just over the course of a small period of time anymore. So got to get right, but we do know that if he does get right, he can go on a tear, and hopefully a tear is soon to come. In the meantime, the Nats are trying to salvage something out of this series. We have Game 3 Sunday afternoon, Easter Sunday afternoon, 1:35. Foster Griffin will be the Nats starting pitcher. Each game so far, an attendance of above 40,000. Will we make it 3 for 3? Will we get at least 40,000, at least officially, at Nationals Park on Sunday afternoon? What do you think?
My initial answer to that, Al, is absolutely. I think it will be over 40,000. Now, there is rain in the forecast for Sunday as we talk about this. How many people don't end up buying a ticket morning of, day of because of that? We'll see. But between spring definitely being in the air and most importantly, the Dodgers and Shohei Ohtani and all those things, I think you just add up to a major attraction, and I think you're going to see another packed house on Sunday.
Roki Sasaki is scheduled to be the Dodgers starting pitcher. So we have a pitcher in Foster Griffin, who pitched the last 3 seasons in Japan, versus a pitcher from Japan in Roki Sasaki. You tell us what you think. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email us, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. And we have a website that you can check out too, natschatpodcast.com, at which you can purchase a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. Nats Chat is on the radio Sunday morning 9 to 10 on ESPN Richmond, which is 106.1 FM in the Richmond, Virginia area, and Sunday morning 9 to 10 on Priority Sports Radio 94.1 in the Virginia Beach area. For Tim Shovers, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
The pitch, driven down the right field side. It's fair. Inside the line, hits the side wall. It's going down to the corner. Young is speeding around third. He's going to score. Garcia's thinking three. He's motoring toward third. He'll make it there standing without a play. It's an RBI triple for Luis Garcia Jr. And the Nationals are on the board. It's 6-1 Dodgers.